I'm ready. You're going to do a little intro?
Good afternoon and welcome to Working Wednesday webinar with the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center. My name is Mary Jo Williams and I will be your moderator, facilitator for today's session. Our presenter today is Mr. Mark Wilson of the Wilson Group, and he will be our presenter. And today's topic is Disaster Recovery and Resiliency webinar series, Bricks and Mortar Retail, What Now During COVID-19? Now, this is the third in our series of 8 webinars, so we hope to see you for the remainder. Now, for today's session, please put your questions in the chat and we will answer them as we go along through the presentation. And at the end, we'll give you some more information. But for those of you that are new to the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, we are a joint venture arrangement between the U.S. Small Business Administration and the University of the Virgin Islands. And as such, what we do is we provide technical assistance to people that are in the conception stage of their business, all the way up to people that are in the exit strategy stage of their business and anywhere in between. And one of the best things about our services is that they are free of charge for our business consultation. Our state director is Mr. Ted Gutierrez, and on his behalf and the behalf of the staff of the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, I want to welcome you all here. And now I'd like to turn over the presentation to Mr. Mark Wilson. Your mic is muted, Mark.
How's that? Good afternoon, everybody. I heard I was muted, so you missed my big hello, but I'm here. I'm Mark Wilson. I was voted an Islander on my last visit, so I feel like I'm one of y'all. And today we're going to talk about bricks and mortar and what to do with it during COVID-19. So Mark Wilson of the Wilson Company. I'm a retail, restaurant, and hospitality strategist. I've been doing that for 11 years after a very robust career in retail and restaurants and hospitality for about 45 years. So what I bring to you is intellectual property that was gathered together over the past 55, 60 years, and I'm here to share it with you. I've made lots of mistakes, and I think that's important that you make mistakes, believe it or not, because if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking enough risks, and risks are necessary to move forward during such an uncertain time we find ourselves in. So all I can promise you is to expect the unexpected, because it's a long and winding road we weave as we try to find and navigate our way through this pandemic. So we're going to cover a lot of ground today. I think it's important that we kind of paint the backdrop to today's session with what's going on currently. Let's make sure that my slides will go. So bricks and mortar, what now? So what has changed? What's changed of late that's made a difference? So let's back up a year. It's almost a year now since the pandemic hit. It was March of a year ago. The early cases were found in February, so let's call it a year. And a lot has changed in the year that we find ourselves in. 2021 is relatively new, so let's just talk about 2020 for a minute. So the pandemic hit in March. We ran a survey in April of 2020 to over 1,000 independently owned small businesses. And we asked them a series of questions. And what we determined from that survey was that in April of 2020, the primary concern of the consumer was safety and antiseptic. So their biggest concern was, will it be safe to shop? Can the store owners make sure that their bricks and mortar store is safe to shop in? And do they follow the protocols of safety? First and foremost, being wearing masks and staying 6 feet apart. So, social distancing and wearing masks. On state side, many places have actually encouraged double masking, wearing two masks as extra prevention of spreading the virus. But so let's say we're at least agreed upon that we'll be wearing masks and maintaining the 6 foot distance. Well, that was the primary concern of the consumer at that point. We just didn't know what was going to happen and how long this virus would last. Well, here we are a year later. Now, we ran the same survey in October of 2020, so 6 months into the virus. So the consumer at this point has felt you've had the time to make your place safe to shop in. You've also had the time to improve your digital marketing. And for me, the biggest task there is to provide your products for sale online. So the biggest change for the independently owned retailer, whether you're on the island or on the mainland, was to be able to move digitally into your marketing, which includes social media and your website and any other sites that you use to be connected from a social standpoint. And so that's the primary change has been that you've had to improve your ability to do business online. So that's the big one that's changed. But when we ran the survey again in October, 6 months later, here's what happened. The primary concern of the consumer now is convenience, followed very closely by safety and caution. But convenience now trumps caution and safety. So, what does convenience mean? It means that you have to be able to get the product to the consumer in any manner in which they prefer. So, you have to become omni channel. So, finishing the backdrop before we move on, you have a consumer that believes you've made your place safe and antiseptic shop in, and now wants to get their product in any manner in which they prefer. And to tell you what those are quickly is easy. They can continue to shop inside your store, which is really where you'd want them. You can have curbside pickup, which is where they order it online, make their purchase online, and you merely pick up the product outside your front door with having someone hand it to them in their car. Or they can come out onto the sidewalk and pick it up, just park out front and grab it there. The safest manner in which the customer believes they should get your product is to have you deliver it to them. So whether they're staying local, they live on the island, or they're in a hotel or on a ship, they want the ability to have their product brought to them with with a local delivery service, probably one of your employees, which would make it the least expensive. They also want you to be able to ship the product to them via major carriers, UPS or FedEx or whoever it might be. So there's plenty of different ways for a customer to satisfy their shopping. And you have to be prepared to deliver in all those manners. And that's the biggest change is that if it can be digitized, digitize it. and make sure that you can do business over the internet, frictionless and contactless. So consider this: consumers just won't stop in your store if they don't think it's safe. So, one of the things I highly recommend is that you, on your website and in your store, on your door, in your door, taped, not taped, I hate tape, um, adhered to the window of your store, either the picture window, the big shopping window, or the front door if it's glass, a sign that tells the customer what you've done to make your store safe. And just as importantly, you ought to do a 30-second video on your website. It's easy to do. You simply do it with your phone. You take a live video of 30 seconds. Why is it 30 seconds? Because the attention span of an adult is 30 seconds. And it has to cover two topics. One, what it is that makes you unique. And what it does a unique mean? One of a kind. So I want you to spend 15 seconds in 2 or 3 sentences that define you as being unique. We are the only store on St. Croix. We are the only store on St. Thomas. We are the only store in the Virgin Islands. We are the only store in the United States. That, and finish that sentence. And it's got to be something that sets you apart. The second half of that video, the second 15 seconds, would be to quickly what you've done to make your store safe. We adhere to everyone wears masks that's in the store, and everybody stays 6 feet apart. And we have plexiglass barriers between you and the store employees at the counter. Just tell the customer in a checklist real quick what you did to make your store safe. So and then you upload that onto YouTube, and there's a very easy way to then put it onto your website. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to do that now. Simply type into YouTube, how do I put a video on the home page of my website? And it'll show you exactly how. There are a dozen videos showing you. So that's a great thing to have on your website. Guess what else it does, by the way? Who owns YouTube? Google. So what's the most important result of a good digital marketing campaign? Your store being found on Google. More importantly, the customer coming to your store or buying from your store online based on finding it. The most important thing about two things are important about your business right now: getting found and being opened. It sounds simple, but they're easy, and you have to do it. You know, one of the things I most highly recommended when I was on the island when we were doing these visits in person, I think there ought to be free public Wi-Fi where all the boats dock, all the ships dock, so that the first thing a consumer can do, or a visitor or a guest to your island can do, is get on Google and find out where their kinds of stores are and where they're located and how to get there. So there's one thing you have to have, and that's a Google business page. Google My Business. Simply go onto the browser, go out onto Google, and write Google My Business. And it'll show you how to do a Google business page. And that's the most important thing for you to have behind your website. And there's 3 buttons on the Google business page. And it's the best entree to your business for any visitor. It's call, directions, and website. There are no 3 better things for a visitor to find is having those 3 ways to find you. So write all that down so that you remember it. And then the 6-foot distancing. So make sure that's happening. Have stations that have hand sanitizer. Make sure you're wiping everything down: door handles, front door, counters, any flat surfaces. Just make sure you're keeping the place antiseptic and clean. I can't tell you anything that's more important than that. You got to have a clean store. The other thing you have to have from the outside is a store that looks nice, that has curb appeal. So, in the first wave of retail, there were mom and pops. They were all over the place on stateside, on the islands. This is a great little store. Now, isn't that charming? You want charm, you want your store to stand out. So, the first wave of retail was mom and pops. The second wave, quite frankly, was mass retail, the big box stores, the big boys. Now, I'm not an islander. I mean, I've been voted an islander, but I wasn't born and raised there. And so I'm not sure what kind of big boxes have made it to the islands, but I know there's some big grocery stores that y'all have. So the first wave was mom and pop. The second wave was big box and bigger mass merchants. And the third wave is omni channel. It's about taking mom and pop, combining it with mass retail principles, and add your digital piece, and that's omni channel. And that is what I'm telling you, you need to be today. You need to be able to deliver and sell on all the formats the customer has available. And you have to do that on your website. So there were years when I've been counseling businesses for almost 12 years now, and I've talked to thousands of them. And I used to always say, don't worry about the internet. You have an experience that no one can copy or duplicate because of who you are and because of how unique and one of a kind your store is. But now I can't stop there. I have to say, and you have to be able to sell it online. So it is a new piece to your offer that has to take place for you to survive going forward, because it's never going to go away. It's called the new, it's not, it's the new normal. It's not going back to what was normal. It's a different new normal, because online shopping and the internet's not going anywhere. The consumer's getting too used to it. So you have to be able to offer both, quite frankly, and then give all the options of picking the product up to the customer. That's omni-channel. So let's go back to that cute store, that charming store as I described it earlier. The customer has to want to go in your store. So you have to be able to attract him. It has to be like a lure. It has to be like a lure on a fishing line. You should be able to relate to that analogy on the island. So it has to be something that's attractive. So you need to, if the outside of your store needs painting, it's the best money you can spend, particularly your front door. $50 to paint your front door is the best $50 you can buy. It's some of the best marketing money you'd ever spend. So what's the consumer looking for as they approach your front door and make a decision to actually enter the store? Because I'll tell you what's changed with the consumer today. They're probably on your website, standing in front of your store on the sidewalk. I'd say almost 10 out of 10. I used to say 9 out of 10, but during the pandemic, I think it's 10 out of 10. Consumers will visit your website. That's probably how they found where you were located based on your Google business page. And it'll give them walking directions to your store from wherever the boat landed. And don't forget, as many people come on an airplane as they do a ship. So they're coming from the airport as well. And what are they expecting when they get to the store? They're expecting these things. They want a fully stocked store, which is not easy to do based on the supply chain being broken due to the pandemic and you guys being on an island. Everything has to come over on the boat. I experienced it living there 2 weeks at a time over the last several years. And, if you reach a day where it's the day furthest from when the last boat came, there's stuff that's out of stock. You know that. So they're looking for stock on the shelves. They're looking for an easy to find, easy to navigate website and store. They're looking for an available staff that's informed and adhering to the protocols of antiseptic and safe shopping. So they're looking for someone with a mask on and looking for someone staying 6 feet away and looking for someone staying behind a plexiglass barrier at the front counter. The other thing they want is frictionless, contactless ways to pay. That's easy. They don't want a big rigmarole. They don't want this and that. And, oh, well, this doesn't work. That doesn't work. They want easy, frictionless. And then, particularly if they're buying online, they want an easy way to return things. Because what happens is sales go up with online because people buy things they don't need because they simply want to make a decision live in person. So instead of buying one, they buy the 4 different ones so they can pair them at home. And then they send back the 3 they don't want and keep the one they want. The other phenomena that's happening stateside is returns are extremely high after this holiday shopping period because people bought so many things that they knew they'd eventually want to return online. And you just get more returns when you shop online because the person hasn't been able to try it on or actually feel it, hold it, and physically touch it. So you do have a number of higher returns. And then they want the amount of product knowledge either by the staff or on the drop tag so they can make a and certainly on a description on a website so that they can make a bona fide decision on whether to purchase the product or not. So descriptions, content is extremely, extremely important. So online retailing has conditioned shoppers to value convenience, as I told you in that survey. I mean, they know that they can get it pretty darn easy. And I'll tell you, the big gorilla is Amazon, and they've made it painless to shop with them. They spent $1 billion just figuring out how you could shop and only have to click one button to buy something. Think about it. It's pure genius. So your card's already on file with them, your credit card. You become a prime consumer, so your shipping's free. And they've made it so all you have to do is click the purchase button and everything else is done for you. You've paid them. You've gotten the shipping taken care of. They know your address. They've made it easy. Well, that's what the consumer expects. And when they're shopping with you in person, they expect it to be easy and intuitive and simple too. So technology has enabled the consumer to make the process easier than it was before. So know that, embrace it, and be the best at it. Your goal is whether they shop with you in your store or online, that they say to themselves when they're completed, that was easy, fun, and memorable. And I'm going to shop here again. Whenever I need X, Y, or Z, and I know these guys carry it, I'm getting them from them because they treated me like family. And don't forget this, you're in the business of feelings. You're not in the product business. You're not selling, Keen flip-flops. You're selling the process of buying those from you has to be practically entertainment, whether it's online or in the store. Not practically. It's got to be entertaining. And the people that are do well online delight their customers online with their commentary, with their testimonials, with their product knowledge. Just they just make it interesting and fun. And that's what people are looking for. So what are the 4 C's of shopping right now? Let me give you a little alphabet lesson. What are the 4 C's of shopping? Well, the first C is convenience. I've told you that. I hope I've driven that home. The second remains caution. People are still, they still want to be safe. No one wants to catch the virus. No one wants it. Whether you believe that we're in the middle of a pandemic or not, whether you think the whole thing's a hoax or not, no one wants it to find out. So caution runs high. People are also cause driven today, especially your millennials, your 45 and younger people are out there thinking, what do these people really stand for? Are they bigger than selling me island wear and flip flops? Do they stand for something more than that? Are they trying to improve the world they live in? Are they trying to improve the islands? Are they trying to be more sustainable? Is their packing biodegradable? Are they mindful of the amount of packing and how they ship and package their products? So people are looking for businesses that are bigger than just retail or restaurant or hospitality. They're looking for companies that stand for more, that your purpose is bigger than your store. So people are cause driven and they're also very community driven, especially the people that are local, the people that live on the island. They want to know that you're making the islands a better place, that you're giving back to your community. And something JFK said years and years ago that I wholeheartedly believe in: all boats rise with the tide. You know that. So the towns that do well are the towns that work together. And all the boats rise with the tide in that town. So the better the town does, the better the individual businesses do. And I don't care if you're stateside or on the islands, it's a truism. So I have a word that I use called coopetition, and it's a derivation of competition. I'm not looking for you to be vindictively competitive with other stores in your town on the islands. I'm looking for you to cooperate with those people and colleagues and other business owners to offer the most complete array and assortment of products in different venues. And I also know other things happen. I know that there are some companies and stores that simply weren't capable of weathering a pandemic and a downturn in business. And as a result, they've gone away. And one of the pivots that you have available to you, and a pivot's a way to improve your business, not necessarily improving what you currently do, but actually taking on new revenue streams that you haven't carried before. And there may be possible revenues available to you based on other stores that have closed in your town that had categories of products that were very popular that no one else is selling yet. There's an opportunity. And those that are thriving during the pandemic has seen this as an opportunity to try new things, to try different things, and to go to market differently than they did in the past if what they used to do doesn't work anymore. Okay, so listen to me and follow me. You may have to change the way you're doing business because the customer has changed. And then with all that going on, you've got to do the same thing online that you do in your store. You've got to provide personalized customer service. People become loyal customers because you've personalized their shopping experience. So you may have a group of islanders that shop with you week in and week out because you're the best thing on the island, but you have different groups of people coming on and off the island year round. You want to get found on Google, you want to get found in the local magazines and papers that are in the hotels and bed and breakfasts and Airbnbs. You want to get found, but then you got to provide a shopping experience not only in the store but online that's personalized. And how do you do that? Well, you capture data, as much data as you can about the customer, where they're from, where they live, do they own, do they rent, are they married, are they single, are they a family? You need to know who it is that you're selling to, and you have to have a target customer. And then online, you've got to use the data that they've used, you got to collect their purchasing records. And every point of sale that's worth anything today has the ability to capture purchase records. And that's important for you to be a better employee to serve the customer. Because think about it, you're the personal shopper for that customer because you know your product better than they do, and you know the assortment and the categories and all the variety that you have much better than the customer does. So they're looking for that help, and they're looking for the same kind of help when they're shopping online. They want recommendations of products that other people that bought what they're buying bought these items. Amazon does that all the time. You can do that with point of sale. The other cool things about point of sale systems and good e-commerce platforms are things like live chat. Let me give you an example. A good example of a good platform to go online with is Shopify. They're the biggest and they're one of the best. And you can be on Shopify by tonight. You could have an online store, even if you don't have one this morning. You could have one by tonight. That's how easy Shopify makes it. But they have plugins available to you. They have a live chat. You could have a live chat on your website tonight. And I would recommend you only man at the hours you're open so that someone that's there can answer a chat. But you don't want to try to be answering chats 24/7, 365, which is what you're open now if you have a website that sells. You're open every day, all night, all day, and you're open all across the globe. So talk about scaling your business overnight. Just go online. So Shopify, do some research. And they also have free periods where you can test them out at no cost, and they're not that expensive. The other thing they have is contactless payment. They have the ability to manage your inventory both online and in the store. So that's very important, managing two inventories once you have an online store. And they also have things like emails they can send customers that have abandoned their carts. One of the issues in online shopping is that people will start filling a cart and then they'll just stop and leave it and not purchase. So you have carts on your site that have products in them that are just sitting there because they've been abandoned. Well, Shopify has emails that they can send them saying, oops, did you forget what you were looking at? I noticed you were looking at these sandals. How about a 10%? How about free shipping? You know, give them an offer, incent them to buy. So choose an e-commerce platform wisely. There's lots, Lightspeed, BigCommerce, Wix, Weebly, um, again, Shopify. You can put your product onto Amazon Marketplace. You can sell your product on Instagram and Facebook now. So there are many platforms to get your product online. So that was a quick little diversion, but a good sidebar on getting your product online through Shopify. Why do customers stop shopping with you? The number one reason is you've been rude or unreliable to them. And that means both online or in the store. Unreliable is a website that doesn't work. Unreliable is a contactless payment system that's filled with problems and mistakes, and customers won't, there's too many sites that work well for you to have a site that doesn't work well. So that's unreliability. Some will buy based on price, some will buy a cheaper product, some will find a better product. Some you won't pay attention to at all. So they just leave. They fly in under your radar and they leave under your radar. So, but the number one thing is rude or unreliable treatment. So be aware of that and fend against it and teach your employees to fend against it. 78% of consumers are more likely to be a repeat customer if the retailer simply provides them with targeted, personalized offers. So to groom a customer to be loyal, you need to throw them a bone now and again. There's an 80-20 rule. There's tons of 80-20 rules in retail, and one of them is 20% of your customers, and this is true in restaurants too. 20% of your customers provide 80% of your revenues, and 20% of your product provides 80% of your revenues. So you've got to groom loyal customers, and that you got to reward them. That's through loyalty programs, through emails, private sales, things you offer them that don't get offered to just regular run-of-the-mill customers. You've got to groom them. You've got to coddle them. You've got to nurture them into good customers. And you've got to listen to them. A growing body of studies suggest that obsessive use of social media has created a latent craving for socialization. And people, in addition, during the pandemic, people have been isolated. They're working at home. They're staying at home. They've been told to stay at home. So you got people that when they get out there, they're craving it. They want to be safe. They want to have a mask on and be 6 feet away. But for goodness sake, talk to them. They're dying for it. So listen to your customers, morph your business as they morph. Ask your best customers what they're looking for you to provide. They're your best sounding board. Boomers and millennials, the two biggest age groups out there right now. There are now more millennials than boomers. And just so you know what I'm talking about, I just say millennials are young people. Let's call them 40 and younger. Those are millennials. There's now generation Z and X, but let's say young people, 40 and younger, is the largest generation alive today. They outnumber boomers, which are the folks that were born after World War II, the people that are now, let's call them 50 to 70, let's call them boomers. And then 70 and over are the best generation ever. They're called the traditionalists, and they're the best generation because they lived through a world war, and they lived through the Great Depression. So we've got all sorts of age groups out there, and they all have their own traits and likes and dislikes, and they influence retail immensely. So the thing boomers want, the 70-year-olds and older, is they want it to be easy. They want to get what they've worked hard for their money. They've got some money, and when they spend it, they don't want tension. They don't want stress in their life. They just want it to be easier. And millennials, they grew up with a phone in their hand. They want your digital media and your website to work, and they want it to be efficient. So know that and make sure that it is. I've said this, but pamper your existing customers and let them know that you appreciate them. And the same thing goes for your employees. There's nothing better than a group of employees that love working in your store. And I'll bring that up again in a minute. But pamper your existing customers. They're so important. And here's attract strong employees. The best employees are people that have already shopped with you and they love what you're doing. They love your act. They love your culture. They love your taste level. They love your spirit. They love your design. And they make great part-time employees. And remember this, you are in the business of feelings. I can find a store that's doing fine in every town I go to. And people say, well, what is it that makes them successful? And my answer is, it's their secret sauce. And you say to me, well, how can I get that? How come I don't have secret sauce? Well, here's the answer. The secret sauce is the personality of the owner. Everything that happens in that store trickles down from the owner. And if the owner's absentee or not there and there's a strong store manager, then it trickles down from them. And you've got to have a group of people that love your show. And they're just disciples. They know the culture, they know the story, they know the backstory, they know your purpose, they know your causes, they know how you fit into the community. And all those things are terribly, terribly important. And you harvest enthusiasm. You create an energy in your store that people can feel. You can go into a store and find out that it's just hopping and running on all cylinders. It's a well-oiled machine. They got stuff going on. There's an energy. There's color. There's vibrancies. There's a vibe. And then you can go into a store where people aren't getting along, employees aren't getting along. You can feel that immediately too. You can go into a store and go, ooh, something's wrong in here. I can feel it. And you got to guard against that, and you got to keep it from happening. Hire people that are happy, conversant, fun, energetic, and then reward and empower the employees to do the best job possible. And train them so that they have intimate knowledge, firsthand knowledge of your product and why it's great, and how to tell the customer why it's great. And the best main mindset is one of service. You're there to serve the customer, not sell the customer. No one wants to be sold anything. They want to be given enough information to make a wise decision on purchasing. And if you sell that way, if that's the approach you take when you sell, you'll sell plenty. And here's what you'll garner: trust. And that's what the consumer's looking for when they shop at a small, independently owned store. They know they're that much closer to the owner. In fact, many times it is the owner that's waiting on them. It's not somebody that punched a clock at a big supermarket that doesn't care about you, doesn't even know you, doesn't care to know you. So, Sir Richard Branson, the gentleman that owns Virgin Airlines and Records and everything else that he owns, he's known for a saying that happy employees treat customers way better than unhappy ones do. So keep that in mind and live by it. and transport your world, your store into a digital world and bring the digital world into your store. Shoot, that's a kiosk in a store where you can charge your phone while you're shopping. I don't expect that in a mom and pop store, but there are ways. I mean, you should have a live computer with your website running on it in the store. You know what else is really, really good? And you can do this through platforms like Shopify? Inventory visibility. You know how stores can say, well, there's only 3 of these left. You can create a sense of urgency. And it's a true number. It's transparency. Your computer system is able to tell you how many of it you have left. And it can create a sense of urgency, which is great. You know, if a consumer knows there's only a couple left and then they have a size that's not easy to find, shoot, mediums is hard to find as double XL because the mediums sell faster and the double XL aren't bought in the same numbers. But if you want some advice, most Americans are getting bigger. So scrimp on the extra smalls and buy more extra larges. So you have to adopt the technology. You got point of sale. You got contactless and frictionless payments. You've got live chatting. You got inventory visibility. Shoot, some stores have augmented reality and 3D printing. I mean, just think of the world we live in today. And you've got to be all over the phone. More people do shop from their phone than they do anywhere else. And they're probably on their phone when they're in your store. So make it easy for them to pick up your website while they're in the store. Make sure your 5G, if it's available. I don't know if 5G is even available on the islands. I'm thinking it is. But make sure you have a good hookup and good wireless technology. You know, most people born today, because the millennial 45 and younger is the largest population. So it is a fair statement. Most people born today, most people shopping today were born with a phone in their hand. Provide extra services, provide things people don't expect. Shoot, Nordstrom has a reputation that they even take 4 tires back at their clothing store. I don't think they've ever taken anybody's tires back, but they enjoy the folklore of the customer service being so good in a Nordstrom store that even take the tires back on your car. Testimonials. You ought to have testimonials on your website of people that are happy. And even put them all up. Put the good ones, put the bad ones. Provide transparency. Let the customer know what's going on in your 4 walls. And then be involved in your community. Be visible. Support things that are going on. If the town's having events, be involved. Towns that work together do better than towns that don't. All boats rise with the tide. It's so true. And your community, your money, the money that's spent with a locally owned business on the island means the money stays on the island. If it's a big chain store or a grocery store that's owned by a big conglomerate, the money doesn't stay on the island. It goes to wherever that conglomerate's headquartered. So just know this, that if you're buying from an independently owned local store, 70% of the money that's been spent there stays here and gets spent over and over again. So you used to think WWW standard for the World Wide Web. Well, it doesn't anymore. It stands for what, where, and when. So I thought I'd end with this little story about the Wilson Company. I was a botanist by education, and lo and behold, I was in retail and restaurants my whole life. So I did a little investigation on my ancestors. How in the world did a botanist end up in retail and restaurants? Well, I come to find out that my great grandfather was a general in the Civil War. He was a Yankee. And when the war ended in 1865, he took a wagon train from the state of Pennsylvania to Bozeman, Montana, with 300 people. About half of them made it, 150 made it, and opened the Wilson Mercantile in 1866 in Bozeman, Montana. And there's my great grandfather, second from the left, sitting on the loading dock. And I read this quote from him, and it's why I do what I do today. And I want to share with you it as a closing statement. My business standards shall have in them a note of sympathy for common humanity. Are my business dealings, ambitions, and relations shall always cause me to take into consideration my highest duties as a member of society. In every position in business life and every responsibility that comes before me, my chief thought shall be to fill that responsibility and discharge that duty so that when I have ended with each of them, I shall have lifted the level of human ideals and achievements a little higher than I found it. And that's what I tried to do today. I hope I imparted to you information and wisdom that you'll use going forward to be a better servant of your customer and member of your community and society. So, do we have any questions? Is there any questions, Mary Jo?
Okay, I don't see any in the chat, but if someone would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. I will recognize you, and then you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Now, Mary Jo, can they email you if they wanted to do a virtual one-on-one with me
They can.
and an advisor from your SBDC?
They can, most definitely.
So let's encourage them to do that. It doesn't cost anything.
All right.
And the worst that could happen is I could tell you you're doing a few things wrong. But better yet, I can reinforce all the things you're doing right. So give us an email. We'll help you.
Sounds like a plan.
Very good.
All right. Let's see here. I'm gonna send out a poll question. It says, did you attend the previous webinar in this series? So if you guys can take a minute to answer those questions. Oh, not a minute, just a couple seconds, because it's a yes or no question.
Yeah.
Either you did attend or you did not. And if you're not sure,
that shouldn't take a minute.
It shouldn't take a minute. And if you're not sure if you attended, you could at least go back and watch the video on Facebook or on our YouTube channel and get the information, and that might refresh your memory. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. And of our poll, 50% of the people said they attended a previous seminar in the series, and 50% said they did not. So that's a nice split.
Good news and the bad news.
That's a nice split. That's okay. So question, brick and mortar businesses, I mean, you talked a lot about retail, but
yeah.
Does that information like apply to people that have computer businesses, plumbers, electricians, people that really work from a van or work from their house? They don't really have people coming into them?
It does, Mary Jo. I mean, everything that I talk about serves people well that deal with the general public. So I don't care if you're fixing somebody's pipe or you're booking a room for them in a hotel, you're serving a dinner, or you're selling them something in your store. All these principles apply. And at the end of the day, here's a message from me. You have no idea what people are dealing with in their personal lives when you deal with them in your store or business. So the best thing to do is just be kind. Just be kind, and you'll serve the rest of humanity well doing so.
Oh, that sounds like a good word of advice. And a next poll. Do you plan to attend the other webinars in the series?
Well, this would be telling, wouldn't it?
That would be telling. That would definitely be telling. All right. And we will end the poll now. And 100% of the people said they would be interested in attending future webinars.
Hooray!
All right. So you have a vote of confidence.
Well, I pride myself in teaching things people can use to improve their business.
That's good. That's good. Sounds very good. All right. And wow, we're almost at the top of the hour. So if you guys have any more questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. And I will give you an update on what's happening at SBDC. Next week, we have webinar Tuesday with the SBA. And they're full of information about this COVID recovery and all those good things. And next week's topic is making your, oops, that's wrong. That's the wrong title. How to get your business certified as 8A, Hub Zone, and woman owned. So that's an excellent webinar for people to tune into because those programs are designed to help businesses do more business. And then next week, Wednesday, we have Mr. Mark Wilson back on the series, Staying Relevant to a Changed Customer During COVID-19. So Mark will be back with some more information at 2 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time, but Mark's over there in Virginia where it's a little bit chillier. So he'll be on Eastern Standard Time.
Big storm coming in tonight.
Better you than me.
Yeah.
Snow?
Snow, yes.
Oh, yes. I'm glad it's you and not me.
I wish it was you and not me.
Okay.
I'd love to be on the island with you.
All right. Okay, great. So with that, we're going to say thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Again, on behalf of our State Director, Mr. Ted Gutierrez, and our fabulous staff on the island of St. Croix and St. Thomas, as we serve the wonderful people of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Okay. So it is now the three of us. Both of us are muted, Mark. We just like seeing our gums flap.
I was just wondering how many people.
You're muted again. You using that space bar as a.
There we go. We are still live on recording.
Oops.